Welcome to the Pirate Broadcast, where we interview interesting people doing interesting things, where you can expand your connections, your community. Kindness is cool and smiles are free. And let's get this party started. And you know, we're out here in the Christmas land here. We got white Christmas in some areas. Nick, you have white Christmas? He's on mute now. You're on mute.
Big time, Chris. Big time snow, brother.
Yeah, I saw your pictures, man. Wendy, I know you have a little white Christmas out there.
Yeah, I walked you outside. It was perfection 2 days ago. It was just stellar. And then it just started to come down. And then it just came out. Thanks, Nick, for commenting, by the way, on my video. I appreciate that. It's all good.
Wendy did a video? Can't believe it.
Oh, well, look, Russ, look what you get for Christmas.
I love you, Wendy.
Ho, ho, ho.
Oh.
I'm not saying that I am. I'm just like giving you the official. I'm a Jewish gal. I'm like I'm official without
We're
water.
just Christmas cheer here. That's all.
Christmas cheer. I don't see you drinking any Christmas cheer. Isn't that how? Good morning, everybody. Good morning, pirates. How are you? So
we're here just having fun. We decided to get together and have a blast and talk about, what are we talking about, Wendy? You said it so wonderfully.
So a few days ago, I'm like, Russ puts up the promo, and it's like December 25th. It's just on the Pirate Broadcast. I'm like, that is the suckest thing ever. Like, you know what? I'm just gonna sit in front of a camera for half an hour and talk. And I was like, and it's great. I love it when you do it. I love the free flow of information. I learned so much. But I was like, well, that doesn't like, I don't know what Christmas feels like, but I don't think that's it. So I said, hey, wouldn't it be great instead of everybody talking everywhere you go, everybody's talking about how 2020 was a dumpster fire. Like that's the, catchphrase,
right.
Or, a poop sandwich or whatever. Like that's what we're saying. I learned so much in 2020. And I said to Russ, like, hi, David. I was like, Russ, what do you think about 2020? He goes, oh, I learned so much. I was like, okay, let's talk about that. Let's shift the focus from the dumpster fire, although dumpster fires are always interesting and fun. But let's talk about, whatever, it stinks and it leaves a residue for the next year. Let's talk about what we've learned this year. And so, And then Nick was like, oh, then we dragged Nick into it, because why not wake up someone in an earlier time zone and get them to.
I think he jumped in the front of the line for you.
No, he did jump in. And like in an arm wrestle contest, there's no way I could take you, Nick. But I'm just saying, like this, So I'm so happy to have you, because I learned so much from having a conversation with you. And that, and the fact that it just became shockingly clear to me right now that if your beard was, there's some character in Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer that you look exactly like. Who is it? Oh my gosh. Somebody pop up the Rudolph Red-Nosed Reindeer, because there's something with the beard, Nick, that you look just like.
It's the shape.
It's the shape of the beard?
Yeah, it's the shape of the beard. It's I know it's
maybe it's Santa, like the light on you like that. I don't know.
No, I think it's the elf.
Yeah, Cornelius.
Cornelius with the he wanted to be the dentist.
Oh my God, that's right. That's who it is. Are you often told you look like Cornelius from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer?
Just on
First
Christmas.
time, Wendy. First time. Yeah.
So when I start calling you Cornelius, you'll be like, stop it, it's July. Stop it. So we wanted to talk about, it's so cool that people are jumping on. That's great. We want to know what you learned this year. Like if education sucks and it's expensive and we talk about this all the time, but this is so great. We want to know what you learned. Let's take lessons, share them. So maybe, I think, in my experience, if you really can emotionally relate to somebody who's had a really intense lesson, then you don't have to go through it yourself. So let's not put each other in this crap. Let's talk about what we got out of 2020, and I'm not talking financially necessarily, but if you're like, oh my gosh, I found a new niche, that's great. Let's talk about how we built us up. Where are our muscles? Where are we growing from 2020? And I love to say, oh my gosh, I can't wait for it to be over. The fact is, we don't know what 2021 is going to be like. So I'm not going to make time pass any slower. I'm not into that. Let's talk about it. Let's just have this conversation. I'm done.
So let's start off. Nick, what are the big lessons that you have acquired over the last year in all of this process?
Yeah, I would.
You went. You muted your mic again.
Technology.
You learn technology.
Learn technology. It keeps popping off. We got quite a few people. Annie Lieb is in the house. Mike is in the house. David Munford.
Let's just talk about Annie. Her videos are so funny, but I cannot stop staring at her beautiful eyes. Like everything she's saying is so impactful, but the fact that the way her eyes are, she's so genuine. Annie, every video I'm just riveted. It's so fascinating to hear you talk about just the process. We love to talk about the process, but the way you do it is just mesmerizing. So thank you, Annie, for teaching and sharing. It's super important.
Love you, Annie.
So sweet.
I think my mic's good now. What I learned is patience. There's a lot of patience, Wendy. That's if you want to know. For 2020 and this technology stuff I got going on right now is it's all learning. But for me, honestly, consistency. And it wasn't what I did yesterday that made a difference. It's what I started a year and a half ago with this movement that that it's all starting to come now. And and with COVID, I wouldn't have the connections that I've made this year without COVID. I wouldn't have met Russ. I wouldn't have met the OGGN. And then I ultimately wouldn't have met you, but it goes much bigger than that. It's just everything. Yeah. All the new connections, and that includes with my kids as well. I got to be able to be present with them way more this year, and make a lifetime of memories when I probably wouldn't have been able to if everything was booming. You're at work 300 out of 365 days, which I've done before. And seriously, it's consistency, but it was taking that first step and then in the changes that I'm making. So, yeah.
So can I tell you what I've learned from you that totally shifted my thinking? You ready?
I'm ready.
I learned, you said one thing and you kind of threw it out there, and maybe it's kind of a tagline for you or whatever, but you said it with such emphasis that I was like, man, I always think it's like that. You ever had one of your toddlers have a tantrum and they're flailing around and they kick you right in the head with a tennis shoe? Like, it's that feeling. You're like, wow, that didn't really hurt, but damn, I'm going to remember that. So here we go. But you said, how does what I'm doing now serve me in the future? Like how? And I was like, oh my gosh, that is so huge. That is such a life-changing perspective and everything on, am I going to run today? Am I going to have a cookie? Like anything in between, like, am I going to make this phone call? Am I going to deal with this? Or am I going to, whatever it is, it's so life-changing. And it's such a simple statement with such complex stuff we put behind it. And it just, I said to you right away, that changed me. Like that was really cool. So thank you for your insight in that. Thank you for opening that door for me. It was mind-blowing. So
yeah, it's seriously what we do today echoes in the halls of eternity. So it's, if you choose to be an asshole today, like it could definitely resonate to your neighbor, to their kids, to everyone else, because they took it a certain way, right? And it's much bigger than that, but that's essentially the essence in that statement, right?
Nice.
So
gotcha. That's just it's just great. So I hope that resonates with the crowd. I know Russ is managing the board there, and you're doing everything today, Russ. Man, it's just incredible. So, what have you learned from Nick, Russ?
I learned that the biggest thing that I want to share from lessons learned this year, especially from Nick, is the fact that people that don't feel they can change or they can shift their mindset or their attitude or where they're going or the direction, you can make decisions. You can decide to make a choice. You can emphasize and adjust your direction. And a lot of people in Nick's situation, and I've been in the exact situation where you think, if I just work a little harder, everything will be a little better.
Right.
And I think that shift from, spending time creating memories rather than creating dollar bills is a huge opportunity for many of us in how we want to live our lives and how we want to create memories in the future. And Nick has delivered that gift over and over again in what he's doing, who he's helping, and how he's helping. And so that's a huge gift, Nick. Appreciate you.
Very much so. Denzel Washington is a great quote. He said, "I never saw a hearse headed to the cemetery with a U-Haul behind it." We don't get to take stuff, but memories for sure. And those memories, if they're positive, hopefully breaking the cycle maybe of other things, go into our kids and to their kids, even if it's not articulated, that how you felt then goes that far. So, so that's huge. Russ, from you personally, Russ has the greatest phrase. Like, I don't remember how we even got connected. I don't remember. I know I became a pirate in April or something. I mean, you picked a very specific day. And what I've learned from Russ over and over again is, this is Russ. Yeah, we can do that. Things are seemingly ginormous to me. Yeah, we can do that. And then 11 minutes like goes, what do you think of this? Wow. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Saying yes. People are always saying, say no, be protective of your time. And I get that. Like, I get that. Because you do have to be, Merry Christmas, everybody. I do have to be like protective of certain things. So whatever my time, yeah, we can do that. Is a great way to go. Well, because you can hear like all the things he's analyzing in his head at the same time. And whether he can or can't, I'll figure it out.
I'll figure it out.
And I love that attitude. It's like someone presents you an opportunity. Well, what I think Sir Richard Branson said, someone offers you an opportunity, take the opportunity. And
figure it out later.
Yeah. That's how parenting. I'm like shocked my kids are alive. I just watched I sent you a video, Russ, of a dad. It's like super piled of snow, Nick. And it's on the car. And you see the dad wiping off the car. And then when he shakes it out, he's got the toddler. He's like, all bundled up in the snowsuit, and the dad's just wiping the car off with the kid. I said to my husband, I said, Peter, why did we do this? He looks at me with Minnesota and he goes, we did do that. We can do that.
We did do that.
We can do that. Anyway, yeah, so okay, that may not be a memory for the kid. Maybe that's not something you want to perpetuate.
Oh, the kid was probably having a blast.
Oh, for sure.
I get to play in the snow.
Dad's gonna pick me up and wipe off the car with me. Wow, I'm not scarred at all. Anyway, so okay, so that's. I think this is a great topic. Do we have folks who want to jump in? You think?
Yeah, I sent off a couple of links here, so
I'm shocked. See what part they're getting on. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm shocked.
Merry Christmas, Michael Stims. The one thing that I want to recognize too also is from the pirates, all the pirates, I've learned community is more powerful than what you imagine it could be.
I know.
And all the friendships and all the conversations I've had and the development that has taken place over the last year from Pirate Broadcast, it's just the people. It's the people. It's the engagement. It's the opportunity. It's so amazing to think that we can actually come together as a community. If you watch the news, life is over. It's done. We're out of here. However, if you talk to the people,
crap sandwich and be happy about it.
oh yeah, it's like, okay, all right, folks. This is what they're telling us. This is what it is.
Yeah.
And if you take a moment and focus on what you have instead of what you're losing, sometimes what you lose is something it needs to be gone from your life. You can release some of that stuff. Holding on to things that are no longer serving you has never been a valuable tool in your toolbox. It's like, okay, that baggage that you carry around.
You become a tool.
Yeah. Don't be a tool. So yeah, there's so many lessons, the small things, like Nick, you said, consistency. Showing up every day like this has been really a powerful tool for me. And it's really been a powerful lesson to see how we can actually achieve results by just being in the moment every day. And
there's no analytics to say all the pirates and who's reached out to them, who saw them, what happened from that point. Where did that go? Like, are there partnerships, there are collaborations that, oh my gosh, that now are taking place that never would have happened had there not been a community. So that was something that's really, like, I live in a Jewish community, and so I know, like, if I need something, whatever. But in that kind of scope, I've been on LinkedIn for a long time. And I didn't understand that. I didn't understand the power of it. Did it surprise you, Russ?
The power of the community? No, actually it didn't. And the reason why is I've done it before. I've grown communities before, and just to watch it happen, and it's almost like this ripple effect goes through it.
Right.
And you could see the imagination of others taking off because of a seed that was planted. Right. You nurture that seed, you put that out. So that was my goal. The fact that it's grown to the degree that it has is surprising. The fact that it's grown isn't surprising. The fact that it continues to grow isn't surprising. It's the quality of the caliber of the people that are in the pirate community is amazing. And
they're not very picked by you, right? I mean, a lot of people, I recommend people, I'm sure people, oh my gosh, you got to talk to so-and-so or what have you. So it's like, what do you think dictates that? I have an idea, but what do you think dictates that level of quality?
I think it has to do with the people that are standing out and willing to put themselves out there and actually share something valuable. They're not the people that say, hey, I'm not going to share this because somebody might take it away from me. It's the people that say, I'm going to give this to as many people as I can so I can help others along their way. Because it was valuable to me and it's valuable to someone else.
I think it starts at the top. I think it's your abundance mentality.
Yeah.
It's like, we talked early on, like, I'm going to monetize this somehow, or what? I better figure out how to make this work, and then it's grown. That said, it has to start from the leader, the admiral has to be the one who has to be the leader, has to be the one who says, look, we're going to live in an abundance. It's not a fear-based thing. It's a motivational thing. It's an energetic thing. So I think if it didn't trickle down from you,
and part of that is, think about a pirate ship. It's even more than a company. It's even more than an organization, because everybody has a job. And if you're not doing your job, everybody notices.
Well, you're walking the plank if you're not.
You're walking the plank. It's like you have to make sure that you're doing
You're
your job.
Ship it all the time. I'm like, oh crud, there's guys in the basement in chains. Like, this is not working out for us. Yeah, good.
Well, I would say that it's that, Russ, but honestly, I think, and man, looking at life this way, I've never done it, but like the vibrational state, right? Like I never thought it was, but as soon as I get to a certain place and like actually balanced, which I've never knew what that word meant before, and just operating at a certain frequency within myself, those other things, other people and things that are at the same rate are showing up. Dude, like, you know, like not to toot my own horn, but this is what this is about. Like it happened. I interviewed a guy last week that I never ever thought would ever answer like a message, right? And it was just amazing, you know, and it was just, I was operating in a certain level. He was, I totally think that that's a thing now.
That is a thing. You know, there's gaining access to people. I mean, everybody's human. You know, there are people that do superhuman feats,
Right.
and there are people that, you know, walk and talk just like we do.
Right.
And
so here's the thing: what you do, Russ, by bringing them into our laptop, our phone, by bringing us, is you give us permission to reach the level they're at. Oh, I can do that. And then we plug into them. I don't know how many pirates over the past year that I've had the privilege of getting in, connecting with and having conversations. But it's because you give us permission by saying, here's an intro. I like them. I find them interesting. You know, maybe you will too. Who would have ever thought like Nick and I would have like, what do we have, a 2-hour conversation? Probably, of which probably Nick spoke 7 minutes and I spoke 97 minutes. So that
he jumped out.
Yeah. So that's right. So getting beeps. I turned everything off. I thought. Okay. So so funny. Everybody's texting me Merry Christmas. That's so cute. Thank you so much, all. Anyway, so but that was it. Like we had this great conversation, and I wouldn't have had permission to do that had you not brought it. So anyway, Russ, like I'm like slathering you with compliments, and you're like freaking Wonder Woman, like you're just that's community. Own this, Admiral. Own it.
Well, I appreciate that, Wendy. I really do. I am so humbled. I am so humbled this year because I mean my year hasn't been exactly pain-free or smooth, you know, and there's actually this little twinge of I won't call it guilt. I don't know what word to use. That it's been a very productive year for me. I've been able to make some connections, amazing connections that have impacted my life. You know, Dad passed away. I broke my hip. You know, things took place.
The same week, almost, or whatever. Yeah. A few weeks.
Well, interesting. It was after we buried him that I broke my hip. Like,
and how did you break your hip, Russ?
I was on a photo shoot with my son, so it was like
not very dangerous.
We were 20 miles in the outback in the mountains and four-wheeling, and I jumped out of the truck to take a picture because he was up on this mountain, and I came down this mountain really a little too quick, and at the bottom there's gravel, and I just smacked the pavement. It wasn't pavement, but it was hard pan dirt, and so it was less than comfortable. And
your son was so passionate. What did he do right away, Russ?
My son?
Yeah, what did he do right away?
He started laughing at me.
And then what did he do?
He took pictures.
You sent me a picture of you laying on the ground going, oh, this is not good. And I was like, oh, must not be good. And then you're like, yeah, I had surgery Saturday, and then I wanted to send you the video.
Yeah. I had, so that was in Utah. So we had dad's service. I broke my hip. Saturday, I had surgery. Sunday, we drove back to Arizona. And then,
and Monday you did a broadcast.
Then I did a show on Monday
from the car. And you were stoned out of your mind on painkillers.
Yeah.
You go back and cut some of the highlights of 2020. We're like,
yeah.
wow! It was like verbal diarrhea. It was just. It was one. Robin Williams said this. I love this phrase. It was one big vowel movement. It was just. You're like, I'm like, wow.
One big vowel movement.
It was, just, and so it was, and like, wow. Get a guest. You're in the car. You just said
the guest didn't show up.
Yeah, there was like a technical whatever. You're still just doing the show.
Yeah.
You know, why wouldn't you?
Yeah. Mike's trying to get in, but his sound isn't working.
I think it's working. I think
it's working.
Hi, Mike.
Okay.
You said it's working, Mike.
There we go. What happened was after my live yesterday, somehow I misplaced a wire because I don't know if anybody caught it, but Sid was attacking me during it. So
that never happened.
No. My
I'm
3-year-old was.
Sid's not your wife.
No, Sid's my 3-year-old.
Oh, that's cool.
And she was throwing stuffed animals at me and attacking me and bringing me toys and naked dolls while I'm sitting there on the live. So it was quite entertaining.
Oh, that's awesome.
A real dad moment.
Well, it's a single dad moment, right? So you got to juggle the best you can, and it's just a real life. It's single parent life. So,
yeah.
I can't even begin to imagine how difficult that is. How challenging.
Lisa says, "I'm sorry you broke your hip." You know, it's not 100%. Sorry to hear about your hip, Russ. I don't want to make this about me. It's like, okay.
Well, I made it about you, Buster. So you're like, really? I'm like, go with this. So, but he's doing. I get photos of when you're like, I'll call you, and then you'll send me a picture of you on your bike. Like, you're out there biking, so you're back in the saddle, as it were.
Yeah, I'm back on the bike.
Oh, okay. So, Mike, tell me, how was this the best year of your life, and what did you learn?
Well, it's okay. So I had a bunch of pivoting moments in this year, and it could have been easily the worst year of my life by far. I was removed from my children for 18 months, and on February 18th, I got physical evidence of them being abused by their mother and her boyfriend. So I drove 1,200 and something miles from South Florida to Arkansas, filed paperwork, got emergency custody March 6th, and I've been stranded in Arkansas since. I'm still in an Airbnb. And I didn't get paid for 8 months. And the list can go on, right? Because I'm dealing with 3 abused children, and I was abused as a kid. And I could have easily have collapsed under all this. And instead, Annie Lieb introduced me to Gratitudes, and from that point forward, I started
all over the place. Annie, all over the place.
I started just running with it, right? And it went from Gratitudes Daily to Brene Brown work and getting rid of the guilt, the blame, shames, and guilts. It went to finally releasing all my emotional trauma and everything with trauma therapy with Sherry Lewick. And going through her one-on-one thing and then going through her group thing. And it is by far the best year of my life because this is the first time in my 41 years that I've ever had myself. And
so, isn't it amazing how much you can do with your hands when you put down your life baggage? Like, okay, here it is. It's just an amazing thing what you can create, who you can help when we just put it down like stone.
But it's more than that because you've got to be willing to walk through it, right? You've got to be willing to fight through it, and it's not as simple as that in my mind. And
I understand.
And I've been very avid about documenting the good and the bad the whole way. My YouTube channel has, lives that I just cried on. My YouTube channel has days that I was just happy as can be. It had days that days that I've just blah. And I've been sharing my journey as I've been going through this process with a emotional, physical, spiritual transformation in every way possible. And now I'm just on my path and I'm sharing it with the world.
And how are your kids?
As I heal, they heal, right? Because they feed off me. So, and because I was born an empath and have been an awake for a long time, and I've been a true empath, I'm able to help them through that as well, because I feel what they go through, and I physically experience pretty much what they went through.
Wow.
So I'm able to relate to them. And as bad as what I went through was horrible as a child, I also look at it now as a blessing because I'm able to be there for my children in the best way possible.
Right.
And their gifts, it's knowledge, it's wisdom, it's learning experiences. You know, this year has been very difficult for everyone, and losing people and grief and mourning and so many unexpressed,
and the being displaced and
yeah,
things that you've never think, like last year, oh hey, 2020 is gonna be so cool. You'd never think, oh, I'm gonna sign up for this. Yeah, this is great. Oh yeah, I'm gonna do that. No, we never would have thought that way. But
well, I think it's a combination, right? We never want to think the worst, right? And we never want to think that it's going to be hard. So we always try to have this optimistic hope. And going into a new year, the reality is we have to take everything for what it is, good, bad, and different. And we just have to be our best selves through the whole process, no matter what the year is. And I think this year has taught us a lot of things, right? We don't have to physically be in front of somebody to be close to them. Right. We don't have to, we're never really alone, you know, and that's a big one, because I always felt alone whether I was speaking at UN events or whether I was signing government contracts, or, you know, no matter what I was doing, I always felt alone. It just didn't matter.
So the question is, do you think the three of you, do you think that the Pirate Broadcast and Annie and the community itself could have been as powerful as it is in our lives had we not had COVID in the, you know?
No, not even clue. Not even close.
Isn't it crazy that something so bad could be, you know, turn into something so good? We don't get to see it. Now, again, it's bad. A lot of people had terrible losses, and financial and emotional, and people, and I get it. Like, I'm not like questioning. I'm not questioning that. But the idea is, like, how do you grow? You can't grow unless you're thrown into something that is beyond your conception, and adjust your sails and work your way through it. I mean, that's it. That's the key to everything. I mean, nobody says, you know what, this will be easy.
Every challenge brings opportunity.
Right.
And that's the reason people seldom see it as an opportunity. They always see it as opposition, challenge, you know, here's my woe is me kind of thing. When you take that attitude, you don't move through it. Like you were saying, Mike, you have to move through it. You have to push through it in order to get to the other side. And those deep, dark challenges that we've all been through it to different degrees have allowed us to become different people. And we are the accumulation of our experience. And if we take it as a growth experience, even if it's a painful at the time, it has to become an opportunity that we can actually relate to and grow from.
Going back to Nick, you know, I always ask when I speak, how are diamonds formed? Heat and pressure over time.
Pressure.
There's no way without a lot of heat and a lot of pressure in a long time can a diamond form. So if we want to be diamonds, you got to embrace the pressure. There's just no other way, and be patient with yourself.
Oh, and there was a couple of other things with Mike there when he was chatting. It was just kind of, my takeaway was like your you can't have darkness without light, and the opposite, right? So without, right, you can't have the polar opposite or whatever's in between of that. And then, so you stepping into that pain, right, has allowed you to see what's important, right? And single parent, like, it's the same thing, right? And I didn't, till I stepped into that pain, could I realize, you know, how I was actually operating in a, probably way different than you, but I was operating as an asshole in my life, like just one-dimensional, go make money, right? And so it's a different path, but I realized in that I needed to step up as a father. I needed to step up in industry. I needed to do what I needed to do. And that's the cool part. But without that darkness and then COVID, I didn't have that chance to actually grow. So that's awesome, dude.
So that's a great point. Nick, let me ask you this. Did your father do that? Was he the kind of guy who was like, just make money and do this? Or like, where did you learn that from?
Yeah, well, the old school, like anyone around 40, the 40 to 50 range, right? That's what you saw was just go make money and come home and provide and everything will be good. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it creates a whole set of challenges where you're not present. Like you don't, and you just want to make your next dollar. And that's all you're focused on. But through the work that I went through, and Mike found Brene Brown and all of that. So I went through and found my gurus and along the same lines. And now we can express the gratitude and express love and be able to be 4-dimensional where actually I come first, right? Which sounds very bad when you say it out loud, but it's not, right, Mike? Like when you dealt with yourself. And
I mean, that's where I'm still stuck a little bit, right? Is putting myself first. And I'm such a selfless person, and I've always, been selfless. So trying to understand that concept and fully align myself mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, right? And being comfortable within that aligned space to be okay to make sure I'm first so that I can better serve others, including my children and everything else, is one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. And I'm still struggling with that, right? And then what I realized over the last few weeks that's really escalated everything that I'm doing is my core values and identifying them and living within them and stepping into them. And it means sometimes doing things that don't make sense, right? It means sometimes doing things that most people would never normally do. Calling up and apologizing to somebody for something that you never even said in public, but you have to do it because you need to clear your side of the conscience. You can't walk into something with malintent or negative intent or negative energy behind it. So and that's where I'm really focused on today is aligning myself completely, fully stepping into my core values and living that way for the rest of my life. I mean, I'm 41 years old. I've been sober. Well, I'm 41 and a half because I'm sure Annie probably said that somewhere. And I've been sober 14 and a half years, but I never did the emotional work until this year. I have never done emotional work, and I was never aligned, right? Like sometimes I was spiritually and mentally, sometimes I was emotionally and spiritually, but I was never able to align all three because I never cleaned myself out. I never released it. I never processed it. And I'm still learning what my emotions are today. I mean, I'm not great at it. I'm really not. And I'll be the first to admit it. I don't understand that.
Before.
Oh, I'm better than I was yet. I'm better than I was yesterday. Like I'm better than I was before I got on this. It's a constant evolution. And the one thing that I'm going to say about 2020 before I have to jump off, because my 3-year-old will be up soon and then Christmas starts. But it was good because I actually manipulated my 8-year-old into getting into the bathtub. So that works. So you got to use what you got. 2020. Okay. So I think going into 2020, people lost the idea of what real connection was, and no one was being present
to just
have
a connection.
Nobody was being present anymore, even in their own lives.
Yeah.
And I think 2020 has truly forced us not only to be present in our own lives, but to be present for others in unconventional ways, and then look within and fill the voids that we're not filling, and confront our darknesses in ways that we never expected we'd have to. Right? Because I had many vices over the course of even being sober, whether it was a workaholic, whether I was addicted to porn for a while. I mean, like you can go through the list, right? Like I had a list of them, and it was always something to distract me. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And I always wanted to be out. I always wanted to be in crowds. I always wanted to be with groups of people because I couldn't sit with myself. So what did my life turn into? Being 1,200 miles away from my family, 1,500 miles away from my new home, being isolated in the middle of nowhere where I'm an hour and a half from the closest Starbucks, and being a single dad of 3 kids that are going through emotional trauma. And everything got taken away from me. And now what I found can never be taken away from me. Right. Because I found myself, and everything else will fall in place on its own. And I just know that today. I know.
Beautiful. Just beautiful. Viktor Frankl, we can, this is the only thing we can think. Like this
Yeah.
attitude. So you have adapted, and I've been watching in the past 10 days, and it's incredible to hear you speak about it, because it still amazes you that you're in it. Like, it's amazing to you, and that's like really energizing. And there's a little sparkle of Annie there too, and it's like you're so glad you're where you are, but you're not where you're going to be, and that is such a great transformational.
I think it gives everybody hope.
Yeah.
There's hope that life can be better. There's hope that I can feel different. There's hope that I can be better for my family, my kids, those around me, and improve the life I live.
And then what flips, if you work to be better, and my kids are all out of the house now, our kids are, and what flips is then they start to you look at them and go, wow, you're so much better at this than I was. Like, it's, and then I know that it's because of their grandparents and what have you, like, and it skip the generation, but it's like, how are you so good at adulting? Like, you rule. I mean, all four of my kids are like, okay, I'm going to do this, and they're super motivated. It's like, cool. Like, wow. You'll see, God willing, you'll see. And it's just, that is the most liberating and energizing thing you could see. I want to hang out with them because they're cool.
Yeah.
So enjoy your Christmas morning with your kids.
I will. Thank you. And I learn more from my kids every day than I can learn from anywhere else. I mean, my 3-year-old, because of her non-jaded life isms, right? Yes, she's had a jaded life around pain and treatment and neglect, but as far as how she looks at life, she's not jaded towards it. She sees it with a pure heart and pure intentions, and just watching how she intakes things and accepts things and allows things, it's the most magical experience I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And
you got a front row seat, Dad. Front row.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Yeah, probably. That's very cool. So
yes. So
let's hope she doesn't throw any naked dolls at me this morning.
I'm sure she will, because today I'm on with Annie, so that should be entertaining.
That'd be super fun.
Well, tell Annie I said hello.
Joining us.
I will. Thank you very much for having me, guys, and Merry Christmas to everyone, whether you celebrate it or not.
All of us. Thank you so much.
All right. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.
So many lessons, so many adventures, expectations, are a dangerous thing when they're
a buzzkill. Expectations are a buzzkill.
Yeah.
It's terrible. It's like, oh, that didn't live up. Really? So-and-so didn't say goodbye before they left. Really? Yeah. I have learned so much of that from my partner. Just, he operates in such a different way, and his silence, and then he'll do something because it's so different from anybody else I know, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that was fantastic. Like, he'll just send me a picture of the beach.
Yeah.
You know what? That's all I needed. Whatever. Oh, you're good. You're happy. You got chosen the sand. That's all. That's what do I need? We've got to focus on what we need as opposed to what we want.
That's the beauty. That's the beauty of the world we live in now. That those small things, the text that you receive saying thank you, or the message you receive saying, hey, that was great, I appreciate it, or just random people connecting and saying, hey, I saw you do this on here and I just wanted to follow up and connect. Or you don't know where that message is going to land. You don't know what people are seeing. You don't know what people are doing, and that's why I encourage everybody to put out something, positive all the time.
Right.
It's like, just be positive. And it's not that every day is rainbows and unicorns. I mean, I have some crappy days, and it's just like, okay, well, this too shall pass. Yeah.
And then I want to ask you both, do you get negative comments by putting out positive stuff? Do you get trolled? Do you get negative comments? How do you deal with that?
Honestly, I'll speak first, but I don't, which scares the shit out of me, Wendy. I don't. So I deal in oil field workers and 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 tradesmen, right? Like if we don't like something, we'll let you know. Like that's what it is. And I don't, and that scares me. So it's either no engagement.
Why does
right?
it frighten you? Why?
Because because it just shows me how much people want to express themselves is the way I take it, but they don't feel somebody wants to hear, right? Or they're worthy enough to express themselves in that way, right? Where Mike touched a little bit on values and mission, and in our program, like that's what we deal with every day, is revisit our values and our mission and why a trigger actually means something to you. Like why does something piss you off, or why is something, why are you grateful for something? But when we go back and revisit our values and our mission, can it make sense? Like it's how we interpret it. And that was another big takeaway, is actually dealing with that this year on a daily basis, my values and my mission every day for about 1.5 years now. And once you start doing that, you don't get triggered as much, like in a negative way, where, man, like, that guy cut me off, like, F you, right? Like, really, it just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So, but you can make a lot of cool decisions that make sense to you and push forward when you deal in your values every day. And why does it make sense? So, yeah, that's a huge takeaway. I'm glad Mike is on that path.
What's your chief value, Nick?
Accomplishment, actually. Connection and leadership. Those are my top 3. So if I can choose something, like right now, I'm connecting with you and being able to share what I have is leading, hopefully, other people to be able to, they can figure that out for themselves. Like that's what fills me up. And if I'm able to do those 2 things, I'm actually accomplishing something. So in this little broadcast here, I hit all 3 of my values.
Boom.
Boom.
Right?
It's a good day.
Yeah, a good day. Right? And here it's not even 8:00 yet. So
check your list off.
I covered my list and it's not even 8:00.
yeah. But not having those negative comments, and I'm sure it'll come one day, but it's being able to, like why would that trigger me if I'm doing the things that fill my cup? What does it matter what you have to say? Honestly, I'm glad that you have that opinion. I really am, because you get to be you, boo.
Yeah, no kidding.
Russ, do you get negative comments and trolled? And
I have. I've received. However, they're more around the idea that it's like, will you take me off your notification list? I get too many notifications from you. It's like, I don't have control over that. It's like, okay, so I don't know.
So I wonder sometimes. I don't get a lot of negative either. I'm kind of out there. I just talk about stuff. Or I don't really get. And I wonder if sometimes it's just because I'm scary. I know that sounds like. So I'm gonna lay it out there. So on my first feature film, everybody got a sweatshirt or whatever at the end of the shoot, the cast and crew, and everybody had a nickname on the back. And I knew there were nicknames going around, but I wasn't really paying attention to it. I didn't get a nickname. I had no nickname on the back. And I said, like, guys, like, really, like, I executive produced it. Like, I was signing your paychecks. I don't get a nickname. I don't have a nickname. Oh, you have a nickname. I said, really, what is it? They're like, no, we're not gonna tell you. I was like, come on. Okay, your nickname is Sledgehammer of Love. I was like,
Sledgehammer of Love.
I guess if you needed a 70s porn name, I guess you got it.
So I was like, oh, I don't know if that's good. Like, who wants to be just? I had this Gallagher image in my head where like heads are exploding,
Yeah.
melon, and then the guy's head, and whatever.
Watermelon in the front row.
Like, everybody's wearing rubber sheets, kind of thing. So I was like, oh. So, but I sometimes think that I'm just. So I have a friend who said, "Oh, I heard you were here," and I was like, I didn't say anything, like a big event, whatever. I heard you were here. And I said, "Well, how did you know?" And he said, "I heard your testicles clinking as you walked in the door." Kind of tend to get there. So I don't get it. I'm not advocating.
So do you?
I don't.
So what kind of comments do you get? What comments surprise you, Wendy? What interaction is it that has surprised you in the last little while?
Well, we had a conversation yesterday.
Yeah.
I don't think I get surprised by comments. People think I can answer all their questions. I'm like,
oh,
no. I'm like, I got a question yesterday from someone.
You can. You say, I know a guy.
Totally, that's it. Like a Jewish woman can get anything fixed with one finger. Come here. Yeah. Like I can't. I can barely jiggle the handle on a toilet. They're like, oh, what do you think about this? I was like, but I know a guy. So that's the thing. That's my three skills, or like that's my third. I know, whatever. I know a guy, but so I don't get the negative stuff, and I wonder. I don't get it very often, thank God, and I wonder, like, oh, if someone feels either like, oh, it's scary, or because I can get scary probably, or is it like, oh, I don't want to burst her bubble. I don't want to, my dad always says, and Russ knows my dad, don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means exactly. I mean, whatever, but it's like, oh, so like I said, you know what I mean?
Don't shit the shitter. So
I don't know.
One of the things that is kind of around the same subject.
Not asking for negative stuff.
No. I don't want to send that out to the universe.
No.
However, one of the things that I've realized about myself that has not necessarily been as productive as possible around this subject is always wanting to be liked. Not recognizing my value when it comes to imposing some borders or barriers in my life and saying, well, if I don't say yes, they're not going to like me. And then that's a problem in itself. Then it turns into resentment because I'm doing things that I don't necessarily need to do.
Right. And
so that's another area that, we need to look at. It's like, okay, well, are we doing things for ourselves? Like Nick says, I have to put myself first. It's like the oxygen in the plane, pull the oxygen down for yourself so you can take care of other people around you.
Like I would love to buy Mike, steal one, come out of a plane. Maybe is that a bad thing? Is that a felony? And then just tie it in a necklace and then put it around Mike's neck. Be like, okay, you know what? You gotta do it first. You gotta partner with people. This is such a huge thing. Mm-hmm. Partner with people and have a relationship with the creator, whatever. You before me. There have to be people that are you before me, because if it's 100% the other way, it's super beneficial. And that's like, so I'm going to do what God wants me to do before I'm going to do what I think I need to do as much as I can.
Well, the simple act of holding a door open.
Like 10%, I'm not, I'm not as good as I should be. But yeah, holding the door open. When you hold it, gentlemen, when you hold the door open for a lady, does anybody what's the reaction? Do they respond like, oh, you don't think I can do it? Or they're like, oh, that's nice.
No,
I had that happen.
Seriously, right? Because I think I've never had a negative experience with that. So
you had that happen, Russ?
Yeah. It's like, I'll get the door for you. It's like they'll grab it. I mean, it's been kind of crazy, and it's both sides. But I mean, I've always been the one to open the door, take the shopping cart back is one of my really, it's like, okay, I'll just grab a shopping cart and take it back.
Yeah.
It's just that intent that you're putting out to the universe. It's the intention. It's It's the idea that
Make it feel better.
it's not someone else's job. Everybody has an opportunity to contribute. That's the whole point.
Very much so.
Yeah,
You know?
but in the U.S. right now, and it's everywhere, but it's so you can just see it with your guys' political system. Like, not to get on that topic, but you have a bunch of creators and you have a bunch of takers, and everyone just wanting a handout, right? And it's people like Wendy creating, yourself creating, and it's not just having that handout, and it's so frustrating being in that system, like that socialist system, where and it's not working out well, because man, when small businesses are taking over or are getting pushed out for big business, it's not like, go and create, man. Like, once we take that away from us, we're nothing, really.
100%. There's such a strong pull to create, and there's always something good that can be created.
Oh yeah.
People, there's a great meme that goes around all the time. It's like, if you think you have ideas have no value at all, think about the guy who invented the pool noodle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Simple.
It's a seed. Like, look at this. People can, okay, whatever. So I say this all the time, where there's a need, there's a seed. Like, look for it. James Altucher has a great, concept where he says, if you can't think of something great to do, creative to do, just make a list of 10 things. 10 things. It doesn't have to be, I'm going to do this. It's like 10 things. Here's a hip flask I got at a conference. And, like, make a list of 10 things. And every day, put that list aside. And after 10 days, you have 100 things. And then you take the lists and you kind of merge them together, and you look at all the things and go, wow. He calls it idea sex, but he said, you have that? And you're like, okay, look at that. Oh, you know what? That's a really interesting idea. What if we had X? Chia pet rocks. People have invented things. You're like, need this? And every year they come out with a new chia pet, and it's like a big deal. Baby Yoda won this year, whatever. Like, I've never had a chia pet. I'm not good with plants. I have issues. But that's like a thing. We can create things, and it doesn't have to destroy somebody else's thing. And that's when you're so busy creating, you don't have time to pee on someone else's leg. Like, it doesn't have to happen. No, you have to tear down what somebody else did.
Yeah. So I have to ask you a question, Wendy. How do you go about deciding who you start a conversation with in this process?
Really?
Well, I know you talk with everybody.
No, I don't. Actually, I don't.
So what's the process that you think about, or what do you find interesting that prompts a conversation?
My kids ask me this all the time, and I'll talk to someone for 15 seconds tops. Hi, how you doing? Whatever. First of all, my dad never met a stranger, so my dad talks to everybody.
Yeah,
my mom's a great support staff. So they're great. That said, my kids ask me, does she shine? Does he shine? Like, after I've had a 15-second conversation with them.
Yeah.
So I can't describe it than that. There are people who just shine. There's a thing. It's the energy is at such a level I can't describe it. They may not have, let's talk about Zach Messler for a second. Like, Zach is just a genius, crazy, creative, wonderful guy. And he posted some things on LinkedIn like 5 years ago, probably. I started following him. Oh, this is really interesting. And then I watched that he wasn't seeing his own shine. I just called him Gabriel. I called him Amy Blashgood. Just called her out of nowhere. Just said, you know what? We should really. I would love a conversation. I'm sure they're like, oh gosh, I've done something wrong. Whatever. No. I don't know. Like, I don't have. And then every time they're crying, I'm telling them, like, you don't understand what greatness you have, and you need to do this. I have an English literature degree, which means I know how to use the Oxford comma. Like, that's the scoop. I don't have psychology. I'm not shrink, whatever. Like, but you shine. Do you know that you shine? And they're like, no. I mean, first time I had this conversation with Amy, actually in San Francisco, and Noah and I went to San Francisco, And she wept, and I cried, and the people at the next table cried, and poor Noah, my partner, is sitting there like, well, I have a sister, I have a mom. Yeah, I can just think of this, endure this.
She is awesome.
She is awesome. She's so
Yeah.
awesome. And she was not willing. She didn't think she could be big. She didn't think she could. And hello. And so she co-authored our first novel with us. She's great and compassionate. And
she's a pirate too.
She's a pirate, and she's the bomb. And so we did it at her house. Like, we'd work, and then we'd go to San Francisco just to work with her, and we'd play with the dog and sit by the pool, and she just had a way. So that's it. If they shine, then I connect, establish, call, just pick up the phone and call them, which is not really a lost art, but it seems to be. Like, I don't want to misinterpret. I'll leave a voice message. Answer, don't answer. That's not my business. It's just that if I seek them out for a 2-hour conversation, so sorry, Nick, but it was so informative. It was so great. Like, he knew already. Nick knew already how great. I mean, he knew. He saw his own, like, oh, I could really change the world. I could really do this. And moreover, I don't have a right not to do this. I gotta. And that's when he, and that's such a beautiful thing. So that's my deal. I can't quantify it other than that if they shine. I'd love to give a formula or recipe. I'm not that good. I don't have one. I just know, and it's quick. Boom.
Well, I admire Nick for recognizing it in what he's done, and
you're not.
And I'm so grateful for our connection, Wendy, because there's so many times in my life that I really actually could have, should have, would have been dead, and I'm thinking I'm still here, not a limb on my body that hasn't been broken. But that makes me feel alive in what I'm doing now, because I know that there's a bigger mission in place, and I have a lot more work to do.
Isn't that fascinating? And it's exciting. It goes from being oh crud to oh wow. So I always ask people, like, what pulls you out of bed in the morning? What's your thing? What makes you happy? And I was in Seattle with my parents last week. Mm-hmm. And my dad kind of slow morning kind of comes to the table, the kitchen counter, and sits down. And he said, I always look forward to seeing you in the morning. Now, my dad is full of great stuff. And I was seriously, I was shocked. I mean, you know this when someone says that to you. So I'm going to say it to you, Russ. I look forward to seeing you every morning. Even when I'm on the West Coast and it's 6 o'clock and it's painful at 6 o'clock. I just go to bed. I'm like, really? Well, I don't even know when you sleep, Wendy. So it's creepy, isn't it? Yeah. It's like the New York Times calls us the sleepless elite. There you go. It's creepy. There you go. That said, I know, whatever. It's fine. I used to torture my sisters. I am amazed. I just want to give a shout out to my sisters. So Mindy and Julie, fantastic. One's in New York, one's in Seattle. Thank you for not killing me in my sleep as a teenager. That's just that's all. They coulda, shoulda. They chose not to. I enjoy my sleep. Do you? For years, I was like what Nick had described. It's like just running. I lived on about 4 hours of sleep for about 7 years there for quite a while. So. Were you crabby? Was it difficulty for you to adjust? Did you? Oh, I got to the point where I was depressed and suicidal. So, yeah. And that's bad? Just kidding. I went Woody Allen on you for a second. Yeah, it was a bad place. It was a bad place. So, and it was just like this idea. I was working for the American dream, but it became a nightmare. So, it wasn't all that good. Never spent time with the family or the kids or anything like that. And I remember when the kids were young, I used to get up on Sunday mornings and make breakfast. And they don't, I asked them about it years later, and it's like, yeah, we don't remember that, Dad. It's like, we just remember you always working. It's like, okay. Yeah. And I like working. I love what I do. I spend a lot of time working on what I do now. And however, I think it's a little different because
I'm creating all the time. And maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just the way I live. Maybe it's just
newsflash, Lovey. Creating all the time is the American dream.
yeah.
The other one that they kind of sold you was like make bank and bigger house and da da da. That's not the American dream. Being empowered to create all the time.
I work hard so I can create more.
You feel that way, Nick? Being a Canadian.
Oh, yeah. No, huge. And but for me, yeah, I want more all the time. And that's where I've had to rein back. Where I want to expand is it needs to make sense. So yeah, the bigger house doesn't make sense to me now. Like why I needed that, the $100,000 truck, did that serve me at all?
Trucks that are $100,000.
Oh yeah, my first house was 117,000 Canadian, and I had a truck that was close to $100,000 at one point. Yeah, are you kidding me? Right? So, but did it make me happy? No. No. So this whole year, like back to the year in review, like totally for me, like that's that stuff does not serve me. Like the big shiny things, it really has to back to my values. Is it accomplishing something? No. Like having a big truck doesn't accomplish anything for me. And same. So yeah. So once I operate in that, then it makes sense. But totally, yeah. The big shiny things, the American dream, like the Canadian dream, like it's never been talked like that ever. We don't have a Canadian dream. It's always been the American dream. Who am I kidding? Like, yeah, you guys
don't have a dream, Nick. You're Canadian.
You guys set the precedent down there with this freaking American dream, the white picket fence. You guys said that, and we just adopted it. And
right. Yeah, that's okay. You don't even Canadians don't even have the gumption to say, let's pick our own damn dream. Come on.
Yeah.
We'll just take theirs. I have a really good friend, Ian Punnett, who's a radio guy, been a radio guy forever, does Coast to Coast. He's a professor at Kansas State University now. And he always, whenever he does an international radio show like Coast to Coast, he does a lot of subbing. And he says, welcome to the Tasty Canadians. Tasty Canadians. He refers to y'all. So one time I was like, what's with the Tasty Canadians thing? He said, if aliens descend upon Earth, I want them to go to Canada first because promote the idea that they're tastier up there. That way I'll have a chance to get away. I was like,
oh.
Tasty Canadians. So y'all, if you're just UFO food, you don't have no dreams.
Hey, I'm just gonna say it right now. If any single moms want to have a tasty Canadian, right here. Never heard that before, but now I'm gonna use it totally.
Yeah, you can totally own that, Nick.
Yeah.
Meet the Tasty Canadian. You can sign up your
Sounds like back bacon and beer.
Yeah. We're getting two for a Tasty Canadian. You got a party.
Right if you're hungry for breakfast.
Yeah.
That's really good.
It's so amazing to think we can live, survive, and thrive in this arena because, I had been, promoting this idea that you are the media, you can control your future with your content and you can produce results. You just have to pick it up and get started. And every single year, technology comes out just like this platform. We're live streaming around the world and people are watching it and seeing it, and we're getting on and we're getting off and creating this amazing stuff. And I don't think a lot of people really appreciate the value that it brings to the world and putting out something positive. And I think if more people really appreciated the gifts and the value that it brings, I think it would be a much kinder place, less polarization.
I love that. So when I ask you this question, where it leads directly, so many people refuse to do it because they say, I can't put it out there unless it's perfect. So I want to know what you're gentlemen, what's your take on perfectionism?
It's a lie.
Done is better than perfect. That's what
Amen, brother.
right. I like
perfect is a form of procrastination.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So many people.
Voltaire. There you go.
So many people these days get caught in, I'll call it mental masturbation, where we have all of these thoughts going through our head and then one thing, we just don't do it. We don't pull the trigger because we're scared. We're scared that what other people are going to think. We're scared with, even family. Like, but who cares? Back to the values. If it fulfills you, pull the trigger. Pull the trigger, and so much more cooler shit can be. Ooh, wow, where did that come from? Wow, ooh.
Wow.
So much cool stuff can happen. So
here's the question: if you do a video, I've got this idea in your head, and you should do it. How many takes will you do for your
0?
You'll do one take. You'll shoot it, and then you set it out.
Yeah. Literally, my podcast, I send it to an editor, but all he does is clean up the little gaps that are in between. He doesn't edit it at all. I just want everything as raw as possible. And that, to me, that's authentic. And it's kind of like, it's Russ's show. Like, it's live stream. Like, I just dropped an S-bomb. Oops. And I do apologize. But it's just the reality of just raw.
Nick,
and when
4 or 5, you're off the show. That's it.
Yeah. But when people just see that rawness and they see that of you being authentic, it gives them back to permission to be authentic, and that's when really cool stuff happens.
Right. So, one take, you're out, you're done, you're good with that. How about you, Russ? How many times will you have an idea? How many times will you be like, okay, that's it. I'm just gonna send it out that way because.
The only time I edit, like edit, is when I'm creating a course, and I just need to make sure that the content is clear, because I have a tendency to ramble.
I don't.
I've never recognized that.
Rambling means you have to stop at some point and take a breath. I've eliminated that part. I'm just like, whatever. The other thing is, by the way.
What about you, Wendy?
Nick, I think.
How many times do you edit?
One time. No, I just one. First one, I'm out. Nick, I think you need to add to that dating profile for single women, raw, tasty Canadian.
Ooh. Now, okay.
There you go.
Change it right after we're done here.
Right after we're done. So I will shoot if I have an idea in my head that I have to get through. Like at night I write, and then I've always got my colored cards by my bed, which is annoying as hell. But I have my colored cards. Okay, and write it. Then the mornings I video, whatever I was thinking the night before, a lot of times or something just abstract. So I'll take 3 or 4 takes, and go back and look at them. I'm like, the first one was the most genuine. They could feel it, see in my eyes, I was passionate about saying it. If I stutter, if I whatever or something, the doorbell, I don't care. That's just what happened, and then put it down to just do the first take. But I have to be so it's just more powerful to get it out there when it really means the most to me. Once I've said it 3 times, I'm bored with it. So, and that was reflected in the way.
Yeah.
So that's my.
It doesn't have the same energy, does it?
It doesn't. So that's what I try to do. And they're flawed. I am an incredibly flawed human being. And so I is flawed. So yeah, I have adapted to that and to, I don't need permission to be flawed. I'm really good at that.
Oh, man, when I came out of, I was coming out of rehab, not for drugs or alcohol, but just for not feeling anything. That's why I went away. Short little intro there. But when I was reaching out to a buddy a week out before I flew back from Thailand, and he's like, "Where were you?" I'm like, "I was in rehab." He's like, "Man, I thought you were doing so good, with the wife, the kids, everything. Meanwhile, I'm getting divorced, or we're separated, you know what I mean?" And social media is just, it can be your detriment when you use it that way, right? Yeah. And it's not all roses, and it's fine, right? But that's where we go to. Our default is just perfection back, right?
I think there's a fine line too, because depending on whether or not you're a a victor for living and surviving through it, or you become a victim. And there's so many times I have a hard time being around people that always complain about stuff. You know, it's like I need separation from people like that. I know it exists. I know life has problems. Everything, you know, it's like I could go down the list of all kinds of problems, but that's not what I'm focusing on. I want to focus in on moving forward in a positive way that makes a difference, makes it matter.
Right.
Yep.
The first time someone complains, you need to vent. I get it. That's great. The second time you complain, you're just bragging. You don't really want help. You're just like, no.
Well, it's
My life is so hard. Really, okay.
You know, I've had to leave people behind that they want to complain about their situation and they continually do nothing about their situation.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
At some point in time, it's like all those Charlie Brown cartoons, you know, when we were kids. Where
I didn't get to watch cartoons when I was a kid. I was underprivileged.
Would you like to go into therapy for that? I think there's a for that. Okay.
No, I like to own that.
Permission granted. There is the Charlie Brown. So let me explain to you. Charlie Brown were small people, but they spoke like adults. However, in the cartoons, when the adults would speak to them, all you heard was wah 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 wah. I'm as a filmmaker, I have to interpret that as what adults said didn't have any more value than what the kids were saying to each other. They already knew what to do. They just, all that being said, there are people who like to complain, and then it just turns into wah wah wah. And after 5 seconds or 20 seconds, whatever, it's just tedious and it's you know, oh, I want to do this. I want to. I have a plan. Okay, then what's the action? And I don't want to have that conversation with them. I'm not going to be their accountability partner on a lot of things. Conversely, if someone says to you one time like something, this is a beautiful thing my business partner said to me, and my husband would never say this because I would rip out his heart and eat it for pleasure if he said this to me. Just saying, there's like boundaries. My business partner or alluded to this. My business partner said, I need you to be healthy for us. What an empowering, fantastic statement.
Yeah.
So got back on the, got them taking care of myself. You can't falter. I need you to be healthy for us.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a big thing. So it's about how critical analysis is given and in what spirit it's given. Going back to the trolls and stuff. And how much gravitas you give those comments. I think if a stranger from Poughkeepsie tells me that I'm fat, you're right, and I don't care what you think. So, it's not anything I'm going to have this conversation with you about. It doesn't affect you, and I'm doing what I'm doing, and it's all going the right direction. I think we give so much credibility to people who say, "Oh, it wasn't perfect."
No, and those people reaching out to you, Wendy, like that, when that does happen, or to anybody, it's just them trigger something that you said triggered in them, and that's their response to it, right? Like something meant something to them, like honestly, like your videos, it inspired them, and it triggered them. Like I can't have this, or or I'm not worthy of this, and then you act out, and that's just crazy,
right? It's so they own their trigger. So I got no dog in that fight.
Yeah, but it also means that you're pushing your message. You're pushing your message to the limit, right? When that happens, and then it's only creating a stronger sense of yourself. That's my thought on it anyway.
Have you ever put out a video that afterwards you're like, wow, I changed my mind? You didn't pull the video, but you're like, you put something out there and then you're like, wow.
No, I haven't. So obviously I haven't pushed far enough yet. Yeah.
No, changing your mind. No, that's cool. Like if you're speaking your truth all the time, that's really empowering. But situations change. We do like, wow, I just didn't see it that way before.
I used to do a lot more random videos than I do currently.
Just like pop in for 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Starbucks.
I'm not really sure why I haven't done more.
Well, because you work all the time. How would it serve you?
Probably.
Would it be
Possibly.
because I am extremely high maintenance, Russ? Is that a reason? Like, yeah. I mean, it's like, oh, so often I'll call Russ and he's just like laid down. He's got his earbuds in and he's in bed and he's just like, it was normal. It just became the norm. And it's not like all time, day and night. I'm kind of respectful in that. It's become the norm that it's like, it's like, well, oh man, I'm exhausted. I'm gonna take a rest. And then like some little like chemical reaction happens to my brain. Like, I'm gonna tell that to Russ. And I call him. He's like, hey, how you doing? Like he's just laying there hanging out. I'm like, oh, that's cool. So
Just relaxing.
just chilling. Oh yeah, I was up early and I'm like, yeah, And then we laugh so hard because I'm ridiculous. Things come in my head when you're with creative people, don't you find it? When you're that vibration, when you're with creative people, the doors open. So yes, do you find that? I asked about
Yeah. Well, that and as soon as I started investing, like, crossing the money line on myself and paying people that are those creators, right? That I aspire to be. And that's when the real cool stuff happened was,
right.
But until I, that accountability of pushing the envelope for myself and investing in myself is hard. And that's the thing, right? So now, I have business. I'm in a business mastermind, an inner circle, right?
Yeah.
And I'm also in a coaching program where I get coached. And as soon as I did that, and it is scary to cut that check every month, right? They're just like, man, there's so much else I could do. But it handcuffed me not investing in myself all these years, right? Like taking a course at work, didn't cut it. It because that was for something I felt I had to do. Yeah. But now I get to choose something to do. Like, man, I don't know how to market. Well, I didn't, and now I still kind of don't, right? But there's so much.
You're moving in the right direction, though.
Yeah, because it makes sense to me, and man, that's just life changing. And if more people, and that's why whether we should we need coaching? Should we need somebody to suggest something to us to do? No, like we should, but we don't know what we don't know.
Right.
We don't know what we don't know. So this is like reaching out.
That's the ultimate truth. The ultimate truth of this year is we don't know what we did. We don't know. No, we didn't know what we don't know.
Yeah.
And now is here we have the plug in the community, and it's like, oh, you're a pirate too. Let me ask you a question. And you hear someone speak, and it's in a non-judgmental way. It's like, oh, they do that. I didn't even know someone did. Like, I didn't know someone did what you do, Nick. Like, I didn't know because I haven't been around a lot of oil workers. I didn't know the unbelievable niche that you found and the need that you fill. I didn't know that. I'm like, well, how could that apply to me? Well, you turn on a light that I needed to have turned on, and that was really cool. Again, so this year has been all about seeking answers from people who are going to ask, who are going to actually respond and not just respond, but then following up. How you doing? Reggie, great guy. Warren, great guy. Texted me a couple weeks ago on a Monday morning. So what are you going for this week? Wow. Why didn't I think to do that for myself every Monday morning? Now I do. I mean, I do it like for long term, but like, okay, how this week, what steps are you going to take? And I wasn't doing that as effectively as I could. And I saw all of a sudden when someone from the outside did it, that was great. My son, Jonathan Runge, is our number one son, number two child. He's so freaking smart and compassionate. I don't really know how this one, they're all amazing, but whatever. Like, I'm so in love with our kids. That said, I was speaking to him on Outliers. I just read it like way late in the game. And he quoted an entire paragraph to me. And he said, I love that book. And I was like, well, that's great. When did you read it? Do you have it in front of you? No. When did you read it? A year and a half ago. But that paragraph made an impact on me. I'm like, there was information out there that he might have said to me, all I heard that you should read this, Mom. All I heard was want, because I wasn't ready to hear it.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it goes from the clan or whatever to, oh, how does it serve you? Oh, I was ready to hear it. What's the expression? It's a Jewish expression. When the student is ready, the teacher will come. Well, isn't that profound? I mean, I just love that idea that we have to be ready. And sometimes it's just a quick, snapshot. The pirate broadcast is like, I didn't even know I needed to do that. I didn't know. But anyway, so my 97,000 word dissertation. Yeah, Nick, you're right. Sorry. Let me clip that for you, boys. Yeah. So it's true. Russ, what do you think was the hardest thing you've had to learn this year? The most difficult, like you struggled with it, fought against it, had the most profound, I don't wanna. Okay. What was it for you?
Learning to value myself.
What flipped the switch for you?
People like you.
Okay. I knew this was going to happen. So that's really nice. Thank you.
Yeah. It's people showing up, asking me to help them. And when enough people ask for help.
Wait, us asking you to help us? Really?
Either way.
Wow.
Either way. Asking for advice, asking for your input, asking for, some, brainstorming ideas, just being involved and engaged and finding value in the conversations that we're having, and it's really about the idea.
Saw value in you. You saw value in you. Is that how
I felt I offered value in the conversations and the interactions that I've had this year? My value for my own opinions have increased. My own advice, my own abilities have really been more focused in what I'm doing. And what I've done is create an environment where I have to focus on one thing long enough to get better at it. And, live streaming every day has taught me a lot about focusing and paying attention to what I'm doing. And
Gabriel says the same thing. Gabe says the same thing. The live streaming has taught him so every day. That commitment has taught him so much.
Mm-hmm.
So that's huge. That's how does it feel on the other side of that? Oh,
it's a little bit scary and liberating, because one of my only dreams is like, what Nick alluded to earlier. It's like, I want this freedom to create more. And in order to create freedom to create more, I have to get out of the mindset that I can only exchange my time for money, and I can do more to help people in a much bigger way. And so, we've had conversations around this. It's like,
right.
There's no reason why an individual that is creative and productive and has some amazing abilities can't create something that, it's like we said, residuals, there's residuals out there.
You and I talked about this a few months ago. You're like, wow, like all the pieces I'm doing, I'm going to have to find a way to monetize this. Like, I know that it's a there, I'm just not sure what it was. And then it was like, we talked about it, kind of an energy shift. I felt like and all of a sudden the calls were coming into you.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I spoke to this one. Oh, and then you're like, oh,
here, I'll give you a perfect example. Is like the trigger switch for me, because I have, for whatever reason it is, and I don't know if I even need to describe it. I have no issue whatsoever getting people on my podcast 5 days a week. I'm booked into February. I actually have people booked into February now. And, I know that
snuck into this one, Nick. Booyah. Okay.
Yeah. And so creating those introductions and those conversations, just like you, Wendy, is an easy process for me. It doesn't seem difficult. It seems like it's okay. Hey, I think this is a great thing. Love to invite you. I think you need to meet so-and-so, teaching people how to get introductions. And then now that I'm doing it for other people, I'm using live streaming. I'm using the community. I'm using the networking piece of the puzzle, and then connecting those dots. And that's incredibly valuable. And business owners are asking me now, hey, can you do that for me? And it's like, well, yeah, of course. It's like,
I've got this syndicate right here.
I got a pirate syndicate. It's all over here. It's like,
just add water. It's like Kool-Aid.
Yeah, it's like the chia pet. You just need to
Hear some on there and water the thing. And, that's very, show up. Just show up. You always say, just show up.
See, because the thing that we have to realize is we only can understand where we are from our history.
Right.
It takes a leap of faith to understand what we can be in our future.
Right.
So planting seeds and nurturing those ideas and imagining a different outcome is something that it's a process. And,
right.
I've had some years to think about it.
There you go. Quality time and traction to think about it.
Oh, I should send you a picture of me when I'm in traction, and I probably could bring it up here, but it's like I was looking at it the other day.
Like, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I remember that. It's like, okay.
Okay, Nick, what was the hardest thing you learned all year? What was the one that really, like, you just put up all the roadblocks to not have to, and then you have to, like, fine.
Oh, I have zero control over my life.
Mm.
The only thing that I have control over is my actions and reactions. 100%. 100%. To external, to internal, like how I interpret things, like what's going on. Seriously, zero control.
You control your thoughts, or is that a reaction?
Oh, you have zero control over your thoughts, right? Zero control. What's going to come through, like, just sit. Like anyone who's meditated, just sit and just, do you think you control like that shitty thought of your ex or something, some traumatic event? Like, you did not choose for that to come through your head. It just came through because you're only picking up, like, what is it, like 3-5% of your thoughts, right? You have like 30,000 thoughts a day. So you're not going to catch every one of those.
Not me.
Yeah, not you. That's why you don't sleep. That's why you don't sleep. But no, seriously, but how I act and react, that's the only control that I have.
I think we can control our thoughts, or how we process our thoughts.
You process them, and how that's what I mean. How you you react to your interpretation of a thought going through your head. And the same with if you lose your job tomorrow and it was because of COVID, you had zero control over that. Now, if you have, even if you had a crappy performance leading up to that, you did not have control over what the people above you thought of you. Right? Because you could be the best employee ever, and it's happened, and you get let go because there's cuts, right? You had zero control. So how you act and react over that, it's massive. So yeah, that's the biggest lesson that I've had, and it creates a lot of space when you.
Are you familiar with it? I was just going to say, familiar with the Viktor Frankl quote? Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space, our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom.
Yeah. So back at you, Wendy. What is the scary truth that you navigated through?
It's sometimes you trust the wrong people. And as much as I pride myself on like interpreting things and knowing and whatever, sometimes you fall for the sexy smoke. and you're just sure. And then it doesn't, and you have expectations because they've set expectations, and then it doesn't come to fruition. And, and then you kind of say, wow, I made a mistake, and I didn't think that was, going to happen. And I think that's it. Like, I don't like to be wrong on my gut feeling on somebody. Noah is almost never wrong. I seem to partner with people. So I've only partnered with a few people ever. And one of my former partners, Stephen, is one of our, is a great investor, huge investor of ours, and invested emotionally and physically. And he was my business partner years and years ago. And I find that I work really well. So I grew up in like that really loving family, like, you're great. You could do anything you want to do kind of people. And my partners business partners have traditionally been people who came from really crappy backgrounds, really hard, abusive backgrounds, like physically, emotionally, addiction issues in the family, like whatever. And they emerge from that. And those people shine brighter to me, and I call them thrivers. There's a victim mentality people live in. Oh my gosh, I'm this way, I'm born this way, whatever, I can't get out of it. Okay, there's this survivor mentality. It's like, no, that's what was put on me, and I'm gonna emerge from that. I'm gonna pull out of that, and I'm not gonna repeat that cycle. That's great. Now, those few amazing people that you encounter in life who come from that and could easily fall into either category, but I call them thrivers. It's like, it's happened to me in the past. I'm gonna take it further, and I'm going to help other people. I'm gonna pull others out of the primordial ooze, because I wanted someone to do it for me, and nobody did. And so I had to do it for myself, and I had to find the resources to get it done. And I'm gonna be helpful. They're thrivers. And my business partners have been thrivers, and my closest allies have been those folks who are constantly aware of the surroundings, not because they're like, oh, or they're super aware. It's because they crap happened to them from the back, and they had to be aware. And I'm like, la la, I'm a little out there. I'm a little out there, and they're super protective and super aware. Noah and Stephen, like, a lot of these are really in that mindset, like, we're always going to be on the defensive mode. And then they have to become vulnerable to me and to what we're trying to do and how and they have, thank God. But those tend to be the people that I'm closest to, because I'm safe. I'm a grandmother, and I'm kind of squishy, and I'm built for comfort, not speed. And Noah, we always have this conversation, like, if we're in the woods somewhere and a bear attacks, Noah is like a gazelle. He's like 6'3" and super. He's like, I don't have to be faster than the bear. I just have to be faster than you. It's like, but that said, other than bears, then it's always an awareness around me. And so I believe that I could always do that. And that's not true. Sometimes I'll make wrong choices, and I'll get sucked in, and that's emotionally hard. And that's ego talking. I thought I was that. No, I got screwed.
Yeah.
Sales go a different way.
Sometimes the ego talks louder than the business.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's like, oh, and then you go back and look again, that rear view mirror lesson. You go and you look back, and you're like, wow, Ooh. Why didn't I see that coming?
Yeah.
That was a huge sinkhole. What in the hell were you thinking?
Yeah.
Oh, I love it enough. If I put enough into it, that's it. So hard.
So what's the biggest intent? Because I'm not really sure I want to go about goals, but I want what's your intention, your largest, most stretch goal, your stretch intention for 2021, Wendy?
I was interviewing you, Russ. So just kidding. I was like, so
I can't help it.
I know, right? You can take the man out of the interview chair, but you can't take the interview chair out of the man. So that's a great question. So I have a great project. I love this series. I love these probably go to television. I love the people we've brought into it. I would very much like, my goal is to go into production and with this project in 2021. That's my goal. And with it, I have this really, need where there's a need, there's a seed.
Mhm.
And I had the opportunity. I was overdue to give blood. And so I went to the Red Cross, or actually Memorial, whatever. I went online and Memorial Blood Centers, and they had one. And I was like, tomorrow, I'm just going to go tomorrow. I'm just going to go tomorrow. I knew it was a blizzard coming. Like I knew. I drove through the blizzard. I'm like, whatever. And I knew that it would be urgent. And there's a couple things that happened there that were so amazing to me. And the woman's this woman said, we are one day ahead. Usually we have weeks of blood, or we try and have like several weeks of blood in supply because it doesn't last so long, whatever. She said, one day there are patients in hospitals right now. We have to say, hang on another day. We don't have any blood for you. Like that's how desperate the situation is currently now around COVID, around the whatever. And the project we're working on is, as Russ knows, is called My Golden Blood. I believe it's a great platform to empower young adults to become blood donors. Why? Because the smallest, the less than 10% of all the people who donate blood in the country, and only 3% of us can and do in the United States. And the smallest group are the young adults, that 16 to 30-year-olds. And the need is so great, they need young blood. Is basically what and that's the truth. So I went to, and I'm fast, like boom, like whatever. And it was so powerful to me to hear that there are people in hospitals waiting. And so this woman who was across from me, and was her first time making the donation. And she said, I got a little dizzy, but I got over it. It wasn't so bad. I really had a good experience. And she sat up from the chair, and she said, all I can think about is the fact that I just saved 3 people's lives. 1 pint saves 3 people. And the way she said it was exactly what I want to empower. Certainly the series will be successful and all that good stuff and blah, 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 Hollywood, blah, blah, blah. I want to empower people to sit up and say, I didn't think I could do anything. I didn't think I had any value. What good am I? I walk into an hour later, I've contributed a pint of my blood. I've saved 3 people's lives. And the key is, you never get to know where those people are. It's all anonymous.
Yeah.
They could be they could be the TSA agent. They could be someone in labor and delivery. You just don't know where they are. Like you don't know. You walk around the rest of your life thinking, wow, I've given X amount of blood. I've saved 24 people, whatever. And it's such a empowering thing. I am not worthless. What I have to offer, even when I think I have nothing, I have no money to give. I have no food to give to food banks. I've got nothing to tell anybody that's going to educate them or empower them. But there are 24 people or 2 people or 3 people, whatever it is, that are walking around right now. No, they're alive today because of something I did 3 weeks ago, 3 months ago, 3 years ago. And we want that for the youth. We want that. So it's a huge campaign. So as we're walking around, and on My Golden Blood, obviously there's a component to it. And the guy in the counter checked me in, and he said, now what studios? What is it? I said, I produce feature films. And he said, oh, what are you working on now? And I said, I have a project that I'm passionately involved with, in love with, and it's called My Golden Blood. And the phlebotomist, like the head of the thing, she goes, what? I said, it's called My Golden Blood. Have you heard of golden blood? She said, I just drew blood from a woman with golden blood. Like they said, there's only 50 or 100 in the world. There are way more. People just haven't been typed. But this, I'm sure of it. But it's not positive or negative. It has no antigens, right? And she said, there's a woman who comes in and wherever she is, she gets a notice from the government that they need to do or doing research on her blood. And she comes in, she donates a vial of blood. She contributes a vial, 2 tablespoons equivalent of. And they pay her $200 for that vial of blood. And they do all kinds of research on it and what have you. And it's like, oh my, like I met somebody who just drew blood from a woman who had golden blood, like in the last couple weeks. That was huge to me because again, it's allegedly so rare and
it's a real thing.
And it's a real thing. And I knew that when Noah discovered it, we talked about it, I was like, dang, I never knew.
Yeah.
So I would like to spend this year, I would like to get into development and into production and start to roll out this idea of empowering people to understand that their blood is a very valuable resource. I'm not talking Twilight and vampires. I'm talking about real people walking in the streets today are alive because somebody took a half an hour, laid down on a chair in a comfy chair, and contributed blood. So that's what my goal with this year would be to be able to get far enough into the process of producing this show and then on the other side of that scenario, we are able to empower people to recognize that they have the opportunity to do this kind of an amazing thing. So that's what I'd like to, that's why 2021. How about you?
What about you, Nick?
Oh, so mine is a little, I'm in the process of futuring it right now in the next week.
Futuring, is that what it's called?
Yeah, futuring in my next year in the next week. So, yeah. And as Wendy was talking, I was just trying to process how that was going to go, right? I keep tweaking it, but basically it's along the same lines of the empowerment. So even though, you know, I don't like to think of saving anyone, and it's a little bit different message than yours, Wendy, but the empowerment for sure. So I want to empower more people to take accountability for their lives. So how am I going to do that? Right? So I create, like, we teach 4-dimensional life, right? So in my body, I want to do a CrossFit, I want to compete in a CrossFit games of some type, and or competition, right? With COVID, super, who knows how that's going to go. But that is what I want to do this year, right? And then business wise, I want a podcast sponsor, because in that space I get to create more, and in that space I also get to hopefully empower more people with my message, and that's where I'm going with 2021. And a lot of the decisions that I'm making now in business and in life push me towards that. So I get what I want, which is fulfillment by creation and fulfillment by connection. And in that, hopefully, I get to empower more people to do what they want to do.
Great.
And that's how I feel about it, because I can only do me and how I act and react. I can't choose if someone is ready to listen for that message, right? Wendy, as you touched on, someone has to be ready to be able to hear that.
So what I'm hearing from you is that you are ready to step into the leadership role by leading by example.
Yep.
To the CrossFit challenge, and leading by example that you will just put in the universe, and I'm sure you'll secure a good sponsor. Put out into the universe the fact that the better a sponsor empowers you to deliver better information, which in turn empowers the people, and that creates that emotional connection between the sponsor and the effective emotional connection between the sponsor and their chosen market. Like, so,
yep.
So you're willing to step into the leadership role that you probably always knew you should. Just the shackles, the stuff you're carrying, the stuff.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, like leading at work, taking in positions and escalating up that corporate ladder, I guess you would say, right, is one thing. But when
being a title, it means
but when now I get to do it with intent, with my own fulfillment, and in doing that, I can hopefully empower more people to take responsibility for their lives, because no one is going to effing save you. Like, no one is going to effing save you, right?
Right.
Right. We are on Christmas Day, and I know Wendy, right, with that, but we all have somebody that is bigger than us, and we all have somebody. There's, we're floating on a magic rock, and we can breathe. Like, there is something bigger than us, right? But in this world, no one is going to come save you when you choose to hide under a rock.
Right.
Like, and that's where I want, and that's my message to everyone, is just go out and go create, because no one's going to do it for you. And asking for a $600 handout is not going to save you. I hate to tell you.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. Not even asking for it. That's what you're offering.
That's even the crazier part, right? But yeah, that's where I'm going in 2021 is more, and then in that space, right? And it all leads down. Podcast sponsor, I get to create more, and then I can create more coaching, time for coaching as well, right? Which eventually then it all leads down to the point where I get to stay at home more, and I don't have to leave to go for work. As much as I love the oil patch and I love leaving, right? I don't need to leave. I can choose to stay with my kids, and I get to choose, right? So what I'm doing is fulfilling myself, and it's a chain reaction is what that all leads to.
How does a fulfilled leader behave?
Just in alignment with yourself, right? With your value, back to your values and your mission, right? When you know what your values are and you creating an actual mission statement of your life, which is constantly evolving. And that's the cool part about it, right? As you change, your values won't change, your core values won't change, right? But how you perceive that, and that mission statement is very cool to tweak. And that's what that part that I love. Like, it's constantly changing. And then
backspace. It's a little more. It's like, yeah, you know what? That worked for me before, but I'm thinking.
I'm thinking.
I tried that, and that didn't feel like I was. But if I do,
it's kind of like the entrepreneurial journey. It's like it's never a straight line.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy, and people who get tired of that juggernaut are entrepreneurs. You're just not. You're not an entrepreneur. And that's okay. Entrepreneurs, whatever. That's all good. I mean, you have to do you. That's the thing. You have to do what fits you, and there's no cookie cutter. There's no, you're this, and you were very you achieved high in math grades in 4th grade, therefore you have to be an engineer. No, you want to be a creative. No. I know so many people who shifted, and
you can be anything you want.
And then there's those beautiful people like Russ, seriously, who I'm heaping it on again. You can just start shoveling it off if you want to, but there are people who creative side and their business side they're so intertwined that I call them functioning visionaries, because that's such a precious thing. When you see someone who can create and actually manifest it into something, you've got gobs, you got by God, like that's an amazing thing. So people who like Russ, who can do that, who can figure it out, whatever.
Yeah,
and has a good business. That's big. So it's beautiful to see that emerging in you, Nick. Like to see that you recognize your value. Now it's just a matter of putting it out in the universe. And I hope, like, holy heck, it'd be so dope if because someone saw this particular broadcast, they can be like, sponsor, hell, how much do you want?
Yeah.
And then do yourself a favor, show business talk, say, let me get right back to you on that. Don't answer right away. Don't be like, $10. What do you do?
Then you get off mic and you go, yeah.
I'm
write a number down and then double it.
Right. Exactly. Because your number, you're like, oh my gosh, it's so much. They'll be like, that's it. I'm not even going to write a check for that.
Let me write you a check for that.
Yeah. Or I'm not even, it's too small. I'm not going to, I see more value in it. You asked to answer that question with a question. It's very kind of Jewish. Like, so how are you? How do you want me to be? Like that. So say, well, what have you paid for these in the past? And when they give you a number and your head rolls, your eyes roll back into your head, you're like, I'll get back to you on that.
Yeah.
Then you go away and then so just saying, Hollywood, whatever. Okay. And Russ, yours is what's your 2021 boom? At the end of 2021, you'll be like, damn, I'm glad I did that. Here's more stuff.
Well, this has been my intention for a while now, and it may not seem as big as it could be. However, it's a stage because I have a strategy here. So my 2021 is I'm building the Pirate Syndicate out to where I can help produce 100 programs for individuals. So 100 programs, and I'm doing that by putting, and my camera's overheating, so it's going to shut off here pretty quick. So I still got audio, right?
Yep.
Okay, so my 2021.
We blew out a new camera, Nick. Isn't that cool? Okay, go ahead. Yes,
So my 2021 is I want to bring on a group of producers. I want to teach people that want to produce shows for other people, and do courses and training and webinars around teaching that process, just like I've taught other people on how to bring that process together. And then I want to help business owners produce results in their business by producing content and the creative that will allow them to actually be seen, be heard, and be talked about. And it goes back to what Wendy said, the creative process is half of it, but the business part of it is the other half of it. And in order for this to come together, it's going to take people supporting me like Wendy and Nick and others in the pirate community. So I built the pirate community as an incubator for the pirate syndicate. Now I'll build this pirate syndicate out to help more people in that arena: live streaming, podcasting, production, transcription. So that's my goal. I'm building out 100 programs to help people out there. So throwing that out to the universe. And if you want to be involved and engaged, talk to me.
It's the question. It's like I look at a lot of creative agencies and I don't see their podcast listed. And I'm thinking you're creatives, like, talk to you, whatever. Like, I don't understand. Like, why are you not doing that? Because then people get to know who you are and how you speak, and what your process is. Like, there's stuff.
Yeah. Wendy, I encourage everyone to do this, and it's going to bring up some, possibly negative feelings, but go and search your own name on Google and see where you show up.
Oh, my mug shots show up. It's so ugly. It's serious.
Right? See where you show up. I challenge everyone to do it and see where you show up in the rankings of Google, man. And if you're a creator, that's going to trigger you to pivot and start to make things happen, right? Yeah. And because you think you're doing everything right, but maybe.
And here's a perfect example, Nick, is if you search #PirateBroadcast, there's several thousand listings that go out there. And this has only been a very short period of time. So it's not necessarily a difficult process.
People have hijacked your pirate broadcast?
What's that?
You hijacked your pirate broadcast?
No, that's how many times I show up in Google.
Oh, you?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought there's like thousands of like, what? Fakers? Okay.
No. I mean, I have, and by some standards, SEO standards, that's not a lot. It should be 100,000 listings. It's like, okay, whatever. However, my point is that everybody that wants to create and start showing up in their, because when you ask people to do business with you and they type in your name and you don't show up, do you really exist? Right. I mean, that's the analogy that you can use. It's like, okay, it used to be that, I don't need a website because that's not how people find me. And then it became everybody needs a website or an
app, a thing. That was like a thing.
Yeah, they need something online to be showing up. Right. And just like you said, Nick, type in your name and see where you show up. And if you don't show up, then what authority do you have to help other people create their content?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I just turned on the chat there, and like Laura's going crazy.
Oh man, I didn't even begin with the chat.
Yeah. Warren's there. There's Warren. Snap. Mary.
Laura's got some great stuff today. Thank you so much, Laura.
Angie, Merry Christmas. Holla. Are we fielding questions? Yeah, we'll field some questions. We're on for 2 hours and my camera shut off, so it's like we're good.
I haven't gone to the bathroom yet, which is shocking. I had 4 big babies.
We need to wrap it up because I got Mel's.
Because it's Christmas and you got like people and you got stuff and you got to stop.
Yeah. It's got stuff.
I got wontons to make. Jews, Chinese food, Christmas. It's a thing.
Yeah.
It's a thing. It is.
I love it. I love it. Well, this has been incredibly valuable and encouraging. And I know that there are a lot of people out there that, may or may not have this as their favorite holiday or their least favorite holiday or somewhere in between. However, I really, this is not my favorite holiday.
Mine either.
And it's,
What you think?
Oh, I love it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Single dad again. I'll see my kids later, maybe. So yeah. So I enjoy it, but it's different these days. So I'm processing all of that. So yeah.
Right. It's a different scenario. When I first posed this to Russ, when I saw his lonely ass promo, and I was like, I had this idea. And I did not know that Christmas would be difficult for you, because from the outside world, there's lights and there's everybody's Christmas caroling or whatever, and you don't really know. Actually, I've never even seen a Christmas caroler, but I'm just saying, like, you think, oh, that's everybody's the most wonderful time of the year. I've listened to the songs, right?
Yeah.
So I would never have thought. And his immediate reaction to me is, you know what? That's a great idea to deliver some value, because it's hard for me. It's hard for some people. And it never dawned on me. I was just, I was thinking maybe we could do something a little different, and not even thinking about that. So I'm always so appreciative for you, Russ, and all that you give me constantly. Again, as I said, I am high maintenance, and we have a lot of conversations. Guess what? We had the weirdest one yesterday ever, Nick. Off camera, we'll talk about it. It was so crazy. So that said, but I'm so grateful that you open your studio, open your heart, and let all of us, you hold space for all of us. So
absolutely,
may we continue to do this for many long years. We can make this a Christmas tradition, if you'd like, and we can always look at the idea that, wow, next year. I always say to people ask me, like, oh, should I do this? Should I do this? Asking me, I'm like the risk taker of all time, right? Yeah. And I say, well, let me just ask you, how old are you? And they'll say, I'm 50. I'll say, and how old will you be on your next birthday? And they're like, well, as if I'm stupid, like, I'll be 51. So you're not going to be 50 again. Like, you don't get another chance to do this. Do it. You got an opportunity to do it. Like, what could happen? Yeah. Messler always says the same thing. What's the worst that could happen?
Yeah.
And put that in perspective. Like, maybe COVID, whatever. Don't eat live bats or whatever, rotten bats. But what's the worst that could happen? So you come at it from a totally different perspective, Russ. What's the best that could happen? And thank you for giving us permission to think that way. So we truly,
because in the big scheme of things, like we're like Nick says, we're traveling on this big magic rock through space,
and there's air.
And we're going to be dead a lot longer than we're going to be alive. So let's make the best of what the time we have. And it's about a second.
That was the most pessimistic, optimistic thing I've ever heard. You know what? You're going to be dead a lot longer than you'll be alive.
It's true.
Merry Christmas.
Could you put up the piles of crap at the bottom just one time? Be all this good conversation.
Yeah, we got to do that. Oh,
because we were like, if someone came up with this really big hard story, whatever, and then we were like, I said, like, flash it. If we have this great conversation, and then we can have all the dancing happy Christmas people, reindeer inside. If someone says, oh, my life, the whole year's been a crap sandwich, we're like, that he designed all this nice little emoji, with the flies and the thing. And the whole purpose was he would just flash that so everyone would know, like, oh, here comes a crap sandwich. Hold your nose and take it. You're going to hear it. But we didn't have any of that. So thank you, Nick, for your time. Hope you have a great time with your kids. Enjoy. Enjoy the holiday.
Both for being in my life.
And
love you both. Thank you so much. And, I don't know about New Year's. New Year's might be another time we can connect and catch up as well.
I'll be in Seattle. You betcha. You bet. We could do that. I don't know what Nick's plans are, but we could probably, some people will still be drunk, so that would be interesting.
It's true.
Little
true.
hairy dog. What the heck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dead more than alive.
that kind of encompasses every single thing. So
Yeah.
anyway,
No, I appreciate you guys too for having me on. This is great. Love this combo.
Oh, I'm on it in an hour.
you
So
go.
she says, no, stay.
Yeah.
I'm going to go run away and catch up with my sister and my mom. And
Gotcha.
love
All
you guys and take care. And
All good. Thank
Merry
you.
Christmas, everyone. And hope
Could we
you're
be
having a fabulous day.
really? Could we be three more different people? Really? Like really? But we came together so nicely. So
Yeah.
yeah, what a pleasure. So thanks
Always
again,
awesome.
everybody.
Thank you, guys.
How much? Wait, Russ. How much your smiles cost?
Smiles are free.
And how much?
And kindness is cool.
Oh, there you go. Couldn't let you go without that.
Kindness is cool and smiles are free.
And we blew out your camera. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you. Be well.
All right. Enjoy.
You too. Bye.
Boom. Thank you for joining the Pirate Broadcast. If you found this content valuable, please like, comment, and share it across your social media channels. I would love the opportunity to help others grow in their business. The Pirate Syndicate is a platform where you show up, we produce the show. It's that easy. If you want to be seen, be heard, and be talked about, join the Pirate